Welcome to the first installment of UCRRP's Railfan Guide. These are tips to help you become a successful railfan, take good videos, pictures, or just for fun. Today we'll be showing how to use a handheld scanner like this one to listen in on the trains and hear where they are and what's going to go on. This one is a Radio Shack weather alert. Any equivalent scanner will work as long as it reads in the near 160 megahertz. That's usually where the trains are. Now, what you need first, like I'll show you right here, is different frequencies. The frequencies are what they talk on. So you have to first figure out for your line or wherever you're listening for what their frequency is. You know, like I Railfan the NS Port Road branch, and theirs, here I'll try to get it up. This is theirs, 161.070, that's their frequency. And that's their road channel. The road channel is what they call signals on. Dispatcher talks to the trains and it governs all the movements on the line. Now there's other ones like yard channels, which is for yard jobs, which for them to talk back and forth on the crews. But if they're doing switching on the main line, this is most likely the channel. The road channel is what they'll be talking on. Now, the way to do this is you program all your frequencies in. Like this one, you can program it to different banks, which is like folders, like categories, and you can turn certain ones off. Like I have Amtrak and Norfolk Southern in number 1, CSX number 2, and 3 and 4 are different ones for NS, which are in Harrisburg if I ever go up there. And if you lock out the ones you don't need, it'll scan quicker, and you'll be able to hear the conversation quicker without not hearing the first few words. Now, what you need to do is you select the banks you want, and you put it on scan. Like I'll turn off 3 and 4. So it's scanning 1 and 2. Hit the wrong button there. Which is NS, CSX, and Amtrak. Now, usually when the trains are talking, calling signals and all that, the crews are, you can usually hear, basically, like with this antenna here, and the little one that comes with it, it can pick up a few miles, not really that much. If you get a magnetic or screw antenna that goes on top of your vehicle, and it has a cord that comes in, plugged in there, you can probably hear roughly 12 miles with good conditions. Best conditions for listening on the radio is elevated up on a hill, and usually, I'm not really 100% sure about conditions like cloudy or clear, but usually it's better if the clouds are low, but not too low. If they're too low, it'll mess up with the frequencies, but if they're like real solid, but they're higher up, it'll hold down the frequencies and let them be able to echo back and be stronger. For example, I was near the defect detector at milepost 9.6 on the Port Road, and I was on the hill and actually heard the one at 20.7, crystal clear, almost. And I heard a crew call a signal that was at milepost like 25, which is pretty far away because I was at about milepost 10. So, and wind isn't good for scanners. So once you start moving in your vehicle, you might get some interference with other frequencies crossing it, or what you hear might be fuzzy. But if that's the best conditions, not windy and elevated on a hill, and it's also best in like 3 in the morning because there's less opposing frequencies getting in its way. And the Port Road is during the nighttime, so that's even better because that's when you do listen, is late at night. But if it was in the day, like around 2 in the afternoon, you would have a lot less range because of all the interfering traffic on the radio. Now, where can you find the frequencies for your line? You can do it different ways. For other things besides trains, you can go to radioreference.com or .net, I forget which one. And that's like one of the best ways to get your frequencies. Now, there's also a website that I use often. I'm bringing it up on the computer. I believe it's PARailfan.com, and you can look for your line. Like mine is the Port Road. So see, there's the Port Road frequency, 161.070. That's Road and Mainline Dispatcher, and it has different ones like 160-9920 is the Amtrak C-Tech 3 dispatcher, which is the end of the port road where they merge onto the northeast corridor of Amtrak. That's where they talk back and forth usually. And of course, got Nola Yard, which is at the top of the port road, and the Harrisburg Terminal dispatcher, which is where they would switch over from the Royalton branch onto the port road. And you can find these for different lines, and you also get a map of the line, different details like sidings and signals. There's also links where if it meets on another line, you can usually click on it. Like for the CSX Philadelphia sub, you get different frequencies. Like there's 160.230, which I have in here, right there. So that's where I would hear CSX. And also the let's try to find it. This is the Baltimore dispatcher. That's where CSX's Baltimore dispatcher is at. Now their range is not 12 miles. Theirs is like 100 miles. I had this dinky antenna on it, and I heard them crystal clear from my house, and I'm like 50 miles from Baltimore. So that's really good. It depends on the strength of your frequency. Usually dispatchers will have a really strong signal, but crews on the trains would usually have like a 10-12 mile radius max. And there's also different links you can actually listen to radios online. Railroadradio.net is a great website for that. You can listen to your favorite line through an audio feed on your computer. The feed's not always up, but most of the time it is. And also, for this one website I found, it's called CMPD Today, which used to be the old name, Columbian Port Deposit Branch for the Port Road. This is a great website if you live near the Port Road. Like on audio, you can actually listen to scanner clips. Like I'll choose one for CP Haltwood. It's an MP3 file.
SW4A, clear, same as CP Haltwood, same as track, east right now.
So you can actually listen to different places on the scanner. They don't all work, but and usually defect detectors come through on the road channel. Like I'll play a defect detector for you.
Norfolk Southern, milepost 20.7, no defects.
So if you know what milepost you're at, that is very, very useful for you. The only thing is, the ones in your ear don't tell you if it's east or westbound. But I think some of them might, and you can know.
NS82E, medium approach, CP tone, second track east out.
And that's what they'll say. They'll say their train symbol, which might be like, say, 13G for NS. The marker they're at, either if it's a name like tone, or if it's a number like a milepost like C156, that's milepost 15.6. Then they'll say what the signal is, like clear or approach or whatever, and then usually their direction, east or westbound, north or south, whichever one. And they might say something else if they need to. But that's very useful. You can hear a train like working its way to where you're located at, which is very useful. That way, if it's like real cold, you don't have to just stay out and look down the line for hours. You can just hear them coming when they get to the closest mile marker. That's when you can get out and get set up and catch them just in time, without getting called and without missing them. This scanner has 200 channels, which means it can hold 200 frequencies at a time without having to delete some of them. Let's see, anything else I need to say? Yeah, the basics to using a scanner, the basic buttons. You have squelch and volume. Squelch is like tuning it in, so like, I'll turn that down so it's not too loud. If the squelch is too low, you just get static, like that. You want to slowly turn it up till it goes away. Right there. If you just keep getting constant static on and off, you can just turn up your squelch slightly. That should make it stop. You don't want to have it up too loud, you might not hear everything you need to. So I keep it about right there. It might be different for you. And of course the volume, I don't turn it up too loud because it gets real loud. I guess I hit the squelch by accident. It'll be too loud. And it also has a nice nifty headphone jack. So for your headphones, or if you have an audio cable, like like this one, you can actually plug it into your car stereo, listen to it on it. and it has a port. Well, you can actually program this with a computer, but I'm cool with just doing it from one here. Plus, it has a DC adapter jack, so when you're at home, or if you can get one for your car, you don't have to use the batteries. This one takes 4. Walmart dispatcher coming on there. This has 4 batteries. I'll get that in a minute. It has 2 in here, and it pops out, and there's 2 on the bottom. Well, let me get my clip. That thing fell out. Put the clip back on here. And you can also get digital scanners. Like, this is an analog, and I heard that most railroads will be switching to digital frequencies in 2014 or 2015. I heard CSX is switching in September of this year, so I won't be able to hear CSX with this analog scanner. And basically, digital means it's going to be within the 800 megahertz. When this only reads up to near 500. Like if I try to program in a 800, like here, let me just get an empty frequency. There, program and just say 800 dot whatever, 444. Hit enter. It says error because it can't read that digital frequency. So you can't.
Get the northbound vibes and I'll let you go south.
That's Amtrak talking. The Amtrak dispatch has pretty good range too. So it's best to get a digital scanner, but this one is analog. It costs $100. That's the standard price. But digital ones can range from $400 to a few $1,000s. A decent handheld digital will be about $400. So it might be an investment for you. But it's well worth it if you're a rail fan and you don't feel like standing out in the cold. And if you're like getting ready to leave from where you're rail fanning at, you could hear if something's coming, that way you don't leave and you miss something really good like I did before I got a scanner. I remember I was packing up getting ready to go because it was a slow night, and I was driving over, going home, and me and my dad were driving over a bridge that goes over the tracks, and we saw an old Conrail engine coming through, which is my favorite type of engine. But it was too late to turn around and come back. But if I had a scanner, I would have heard that train coming from 10 miles away, and would have been able to stick around to catch it. So a scanner is very useful. So it depends on what line you're listening to. If you live near CSX, it's useless to buy analog scanner because they'll be switching in a few months. But if you Railfan NS or Amtrak, you still have a few years left in this type of analog scanner. These scanners usually have like marine, fire, and fire alert, like the fire departments, but I actually have a frequency for the fire department for near here. And you got different like weather and ham radio. I actually pick up some conversations on ham, but it's best to have that big antenna. So this has been the conclusion of the first Railfan guide. So stay tuned for more of these videos, including with the train videos. So just wanted to thank everybody for watching and hope this helped you. Thanks for watching, and please tune in for the next video.